Jay Morrison falls into the gamer camp. He put his head on the pillow about 3:30 this morning. Mm-hmm. And I said, I had asked Jay, hey, look, would you mind coming on? It's going to be a late night. He says, it is going to be a late night. I said, look, if you can't do it, I totally understand. I get it. Not only is he here at 11:30, I get a text from him at 8-something. Ready to go. Now, that's a gamer, Jay Morrison. I mean, you got the coffee going. That's okay.
Yeah.
But here you are. How was last night? I mean, where were you? What were you doing?
So we hang out in the media room at Paycor Stadium, and everybody, all the media, TV, print media, all that are in the room. We're watching the draft on the TVs, and then as soon as they make a pick upstairs, Zach and whoever the coordinator is for that side of the ball come down and hold a press conference. So we do that in person. Then we go back into the media room, and whoever the pick is, they call him on the phone, and we interview him on a conference call on a speakerphone. So that'll be the plan tonight as well. That'll be the plan all day on Saturday. And it makes for a long night. By the time I wrote my story and we recorded our podcast, it was after 2:00 when I was driving home. And as you mentioned, going to Ohio University, it's by far not the first time in my life I've seen 3 a.m.
Amen. Amen. Court Street's better, though, than 71 or 75. All right.
Absolutely.
Were you surprised by the pick?
No, I actually we had a beat writer mock on Wednesday, and I actually mocked Myles Murphy as their pick. I always thought he was a perfect pick for the Bengals. I just didn't think he would be there. And what I like about these beat writer mocks we do, it's every guy that's making a pick covers that team and is plugged in with that team and knows their trends and their needs and what they're thinking. Yes, there's smoke screens, but you still those feel like the most realistic mocks. And I was surprised he was available, and Dalton Kincaid, the tight end from Utah, was available. And I thought about it for a little bit, and I just said I just really didn't think they were going to take a non-premium position like tight end with a premium pick in the first round, especially in a draft where there's so many more tight ends. The drop off from Michael Mayer and Dalton Kincaid to the rest of these tight ends is not near as steep as what that drop off is going to be now from all these edge rushers. 7 of them go in the first round. Teams that didn't get one, that want one, that didn't get one in the first round, are going to have a tough time picking or finding a really good one as you go second, third round.
Did you find yourself at all, I mean, knowing everything you just said, but, I think for guys like me who are sitting at home and who, like you, are Cincinnati guys, right? Greater Cincinnati guys. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching ESPN just pound and pound and pound the video of Michael Mayer. Did you think maybe that maybe some emotion would come into this thing, or is it just all about this is what we think is and who we think's the best guy and the position is right, meeting the talent? That's what they're doing. Did you think maybe for a split second they go Mayer there?
Yeah, I mean, he was one of 4 guys. You could see it was going to be Murphy. It was going to be Joey Porter Jr., the cornerback from Penn State, Michael Mayer, and then Nolan Smith, who went the very next pick, or he went 2 picks later to the Eagles. Those were the 4 that really felt like they were the most in play. The thing about Mayer is the Bengals play more 11 personnel than any team in the league, which is 1 running back, 1 tight end. So I don't want to disparage his game. I just don't think he is as polished of a blocker as they need the tight end to be. If you're only going to have 1 out there, you can't put Drew Sample out there on rundowns and then put Michael Mayer in when you're going to pass. You're tipping your hand, you're giving everything away. They need a tight end that can really go in, dig out safeties, be a force in the run game blocking. And I don't know that Mayer may get there. I just don't know that he's there yet. He was spread out so often at Notre Dame and an incredible weapon in the passing game. And yes, the Bengals would love to get a tight end that can really kind of take advantage of the middle of the field with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and all those weapons opening up or taking out the top or trying to take off the top. But you got all these teams playing too high safety. It's just going to create openings in the middle of the field. And I just think they're looking more for a guy that can develop more in the passing game that comes in ready to be a physical presence and a blocker, a guy with traits that they can develop. They feel set with Irv Smith as their starter this year. They don't have a tight end under contract beyond this year. So I do think that position is definitely in place starting here in round 2 tonight. But I felt I mocked Murphy. And when it got to that point, if I was ranking those 4 that I said was the top 4, Meyer probably would have been 4th out of 4 on my list.
Yeah. Okay, now we move to rounds 2 and 3. Again, we've heard Duke Tobin talk regularly that, if you believe a guy is a third-round talent, even though it's a position of need, I'm not going to take him in the second round because you draft him in the second round doesn't make him a second-round player, right? So when you look at where they are positionally at this point, and knowing as much as you've done in preparing for this draft and doing mock drafts and so on and so forth, by the time they get to their pick tonight, what positions are going to be out there where you say to yourself, okay, this is one where the player they probably have on their board meets the need here? I mean, do you think it is a tight end? Will they consider trading up to get a tight end? Do you see anything like that happening? Or they sit where they are, and by the time we get there, they're probably looking at what?
I think it's a cornerback. I'm not ruling out tight end. I think that's right there with an option. But again, it's kind of a matter of what's there at the moment and what is anticipated to be there the next time they get up on the clock at 92. There's just so many of those tight ends in that late second, third, fourth round. The corners are going to be drying up quick, and they've never done this before. If they take a cornerback, it'll mark the second year in a row they've gone defense with their first 2 picks. That has never happened in Bengals history. But it feels like it kind of follows that same path. They've got 4 quality starters on the D line, but they draft a guy that can go into the rotation and be a cheaper contract to take over when some of these guys move on. Hubbard and Trey Hendricks, and they're making so much money. You kind of need the same thing at cornerback. It's not probably Lou's not going to work him in and work a rotation, but you need a cornerback that Cheeto's number one coming off an ACL. They expect him to be ready, but this is the final year of his deal. It's kind of like the Cam Taylor-Britt pick last year. It was a plan more for the future. They ended up needing him right away because of the Cheeto injury. So I really do. I think there's going to be there's a number of cornerbacks, I'd say 4 or 5, that I think they would target if available at 60. But you can't rule out running back either. I mean, Zach Charbonnet from UCLA, that's another position where never felt like they would do it in the first round. Jahmyr Gibbs, I was really interesting. I thought that was going to be a really interesting decision if he was available, and the Lions shocked everybody taking him at 12. But if I'm ranking the top 3 tonight, it's going to be cornerback, tight end, and then running back. Who knows? Wide receiver. They could send a shot across the bow and take a wide receiver like Cedric Tillman from Tennessee that kind of looks and feels like a replacement for T. Higgins. If they're not confident they're going to get that deal done, again, you get the guy the year before you really need him.
Boy, that's a fascinating scenario there. We've talked about that regularly on this show because I'm in the very minority in believing that you're just not going to have sustained greatness keeping Chase, Burrow, and Higgins all at the same time. I know we could debate that from now until the end of time. Do you think that all we've talked about for the better part of a year, going back to when they brought in all the free agents last year, Kappa, Karras, Lyle Collins, that whole group, they suffered through the injuries at the end of the year. Last week, Collins shows up and said, hey, in a month or 2 from now, I'd put a brace on this thing and I feel like it come back and play. Now, whether or not you're buying that, you were there, I don't know. Do you think all of a sudden, though, that the need for a tackle for this team is starting to dwindle by the day?
Yeah, I do. I think they have so many options, and they feel good about their options. And I think that you're going to see them take an offensive lineman, but it's going to be more in that fourth, fifth round, a guy that can maybe play tackle and guard, because they almost have too many right now. And if you're going to have to start cutting some of these guys, and that's going to be maybe one of the biggest keys beyond can he actually play is, does he have that versatility? And there's guys out there that fit that mold. That's kind of why they're in those middle rounds, because they don't have that defined position. So I don't know that it's a need per se. I mean, I thought tackle could have been in play if Darnell Wright had fallen and he was there at 28. I'm not sure that he wouldn't have been the pick, but I don't see it here in round 2. I do think they'll address the O-line later, probably tomorrow. But who knows, if you don't know what their board looks like, and if a guy they really like does fall to them at 60, or maybe they don't wait till 60. This is what they did last year. They traded up to get Cam Taylor-Britt. This team rarely trades up in the draft. If there's a guy that they have that great conviction on, you could see that happening. But I don't think tackle is in play at 60. Maybe 92, maybe the third round, but more than likely, I would say tomorrow.
Okay, the last thing, and I'll let you go. I can't thank you enough for your time.
Sure.
Jonah Williams, ultimately, if you had a crystal ball, you think he ends up being this year fill in the blank?
I think he goes into training camp as the starting right tackle. He's not going to sit out. He's not going to give up $12.6 million guaranteed. If so much of this comes down to, you mentioned it, Collins' recovery. And yeah, a lot of athletes say slap a brace on it, rub some dirt on it, I'm good to go. We don't know. I mean, you're a big man, a lot of weight on that knee, and you're talking it was Christmas Eve when the injury happened. So still a long shot in my mind that he could be ready for week 1. So you get into training camp, Jonah reps there. They got Cody Ford that they like a lot, Jackson Carman. They've got so many options there. And if one of them is out playing Jonah Williams, if another team, if a contender has a tackle go down, all of a sudden they're willing to offer a little more in trade value for Jonah Williams, and they feel good about LC. You could see them moving Jonah before the start of the season, but unless they drafted a tackle last night or even in the second round tonight that they really, really like, I don't think you're going to see Jonah be traded until training camp or maybe even the trade deadline at week 8. The one thing I know for sure is Jonah Williams and La'el Collins are not going to be on this roster, not going to be on the opening 53-man roster. That's too much money at one position, and you're already paying your left tackle, all that, Orlando Brown Jr., all that money. You got the Burrow extension coming, maybe Higgins, who knows? But it's just, I don't see there's any way that they have both of those. They go into the season with both Jonah and LC.
Jay, we can't thank you enough for your time, my friend. I know you're going to have another
sure.
late night tonight and very busy tomorrow. So thank you so very, very much, and hope you have a great weekend.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Good talking to you.
Jay Morrison from The Athletic.